Sitting round the fire, playing games with my sweet. She plays out marshmallow, gosh, that's hard to beat. Oh, how I desire to toast that mallow man, but it keeps on going back to her hand.
Come on now, let's play some Lorcana.
We'll smash some s'mores like Hans and Princess Anna. We'll
Lick a Mickey bar to his friendly face, invites you through a smorgasbord of Lord Smorcana.
Woo! What a great song.
That Goofy, man.
Man, he knows what's up.
It's like Johnny Cash and then Goofy.
Yeah. I mean, Goofy and then Johnny Cash.
My mistake, of course. I mean, yeah, 1-2. Number 1, Goofy.
Yeah, 1-2.
And then a large margin.
Yeah.
And then Johnny Cash.
And then everyone else.
Yeah. Goofy.
Yeah.
He failed at skiing and football and fishing and many other things, but at silly Lorcana songs.
For a podcast about Disney food and Lorcana, man, he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, that was his talent all along, his greatest skill.
His greatest skill.
All right, welcome back to Smorcana for episode 2.
Episode 2!
I bet we're sounding pretty good to everybody out there.
Ooh, what happened? Did we get an upgrade?
We may have upgraded our microphones because we instantly fell in love with podcasting after doing a single episode.
We're what some would call podcast heads now.
Is that something that you can be as a podcast head?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Here we are. On Smorcana, where we have one graham cracker that is card gaming and Lorcana, and we have one graham cracker that is Disney knowledge, and then
the chocolate is like our marriage.
Okay, and then it's filled with the fluff of whatever je ne sais quoi that we possess.
Oui.
That's it, right? That's the s'more.
I think that's the s'more, and it's our lifelong goal to eat s'mores in Disney World while playing Lorcana.
That will happen.
Yeah.
That will happen. In fact, on a future episode, we will discuss how to have s'mores in Disney World while playing Lorcana. That will be, we'll make a whole episode about it. Well, we have a great episode 2 planned for everybody today. We're going to talk about the upcoming set Into the Inklands.
Into the Inklands.
Or the Inklands. It's been a subject of some debate. We were not quite sure. Is it Inklands or Inklands?
No, it's definitely Inklands.
You think so? Because I thought
yes.
I was convinced it was Inklands because it's one word. The Inklands.
What?
The hinterlands. You don't say the hinterlands, right? You say...
Yeah, but it's not like England.
You don't say England.
It's not Into the Inklands.
Why not?
I refuse to believe it.
This is the number one point of contention in our marriage right now.
This is all we're talking about today. Scratch the rest of that stuff.
Well, we'll put up a poll. We'll put up a poll on Spotify, because I know you can do that, and we'll see what do the people say. Is it Inklands? Am I right, or is Katie right? About everything.
Mm-hmm. About everything. This will then be used to judge further arguments in our life.
So vote carefully, everybody. You're going to determine a lot about our marriage. That's the power we're giving you.
Yes.
Our listeners.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about Into the Inklands. We're going to... Inklands? Oh, goodness.
Look what you just said.
We're going to talk about set 3 of the wonderful card game Lorcana today. We'll each be picking out some cards to talk about.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot to talk about. So we wanted to just
So
highlight
many.
some that have particularly hilarious and or relevant food comparisons.
Yes. Brett's been diving deep into all the Inklands cards. See, I just said Inklands.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm rubbing off.
And I've been trying to stay away from them, but I've picked out some that have stuck out even to me. I like keeping some of it a mystery, keeping some of the cards a surprise. So I'm excited to dive into them and chat about them. And we don't know the cards that each of us picked.
Right.
So I'm excited to look at those too.
Then we're going to go on and talk about what was her name? I can't even remember what her name
No,
was.
it's
But I
not.
wrote it down because I knew I needed to ask you about it. We're going to talk about Marceline, Missouri.
Yes, we're going to talk
Which
about
might be
a place.
A place, Marceline, Missouri. That makes
Yes.
more sense.
Yes.
I just kind of assumed because last time it was about a person.
No.
You talked about Eric Goldberg, the Disney animator Eric Goldberg. I thought that
did.
you were going to talk about another Disney persona, but this is in fact a place.
No, yeah, it's a place.
Great. Well, we're going to talk about that in Bet You Didn't Know About Diz.
Oh, yes.
And for dessert, we have a couple more dream cards.
Yeah, some dream cards that you dreamed up, and they look fabulous.
This is going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into our first segment, for a little appetizer course,
Yeah, let's order some apps.
the big thing, the big change, the big new feature of Inklands is locations.
Locations, what are they? What do they mean, Brett?
Well, it's a whole new card type. It's so different that it's not even printed in the same orientation. It's horizontal.
Yeah, that's wacky. I like that.
It's a whole new dimension
Oh,
added to the game.
oh.
A horizontal dimension.
A landscape format, you could say, for these locations.
Absolutely. So we want to talk a little quick chat before we get to our feature segment. What do we think about locations? Are we excited for them? Are they going to change the game? Are they going to have an impact on the competitive scene? Are they going to be at all worthwhile to include in decks ranging from your local league decks, your kitchen table decks, all the way up to your competitive, your 2K, your 5K decks?
I'm very excited for what they're going to do for the game thematically.
Absolutely.
I'll give it away right now. I picked a location for one of my cards to compare to
No
snacks
way.
later.
Well,
Yeah.
that is apt.
It is apt for this app. I don't know. I'm excited. I think that they're a cool mechanic. I can't wait to use them. I think even just like really simply, I like the idea of some of the cards being sideways. As silly as that sounds,
I mean, aesthetics are a huge part
Yeah.
of card gaming for sure. So just aesthetically, it's really pretty. I mean, you've seen at least a few of them if you picked one of them for one of your cards later.
Indeed.
Aesthetically, it's really cool. It's cool to see cards
Yeah.
in different orientations on the board. It gives you something different to look at. So yeah, I think that's important. You don't aesthetics distinguish card games. So I
Yep.
think it's really fair to point out the aesthetics as a huge plus for locations. Let's talk maybe a little bit about what they do, because maybe somebody hasn't nailed down what the rule set is for, or maybe somebody who's listening isn't exactly sure of what the rules are for locations.
Yeah, they have not existed in Lorcana before, so
Yeah, so basically you include them in your deck like any other card. They can be inked or they can be uninkable like any other card. You pay a cost to play them down, and then there are 3 other values to be aware of. The first is on the left side of the card, there's a kind of downward facing arrow symbol. That is how much it costs to move a character to that location. On the right side, you have the willpower symbol, which is how much attack, how much damage, how much you have to challenge with to banish that location. And then there's also a lore value. So on the turn that the location comes into play, you can instantly move a character to that location. The character can also be drying, and you can still move the character there, and the location doesn't have to dry at all.
right, which is awesome.
Absolutely. It makes an immediate presence. You don't really have to wait for it to come around. And then they always enter play exerted, for lack of a better term. They can always be challenged by your opponents. There's no leaving them ready so that they can't be challenged.
Right, the way they're designed, all they are is exerted anyways.
Exactly. It helps visually. That makes a lot of sense. And then the lore value you gain lore passively based on that lore value during the set step of your turn. So at the beginning of your turn, there's ready. You ready all your characters. Then set, you would gain lore equal to the lore value of all your locations in play. And then you'd go on to the draw step. So should be pretty seamless in terms of integration. I mean, that just took me about a minute to explain all those rules. So I think that it's not going to be hard if you're going out to your first Into the Inklands event on Friday or Saturday. It's not going to be hard to pick up how to play these and use them in your deck.
Yeah, it's like a plussed up item. Or even like if, an item and a character had a baby card.
Sure.
It's a location, you know?
Absolutely. I think I'm really excited because I've seen locations in a lot of other games. Decipher, the Star Wars CCG, way back in the 90s, used locations horizontally like this. It was a huge part of the game, moving characters from one location to another, and there were penalties if your opponent had characters at a location and you didn't. There were penalties. You kind of wanted to control the different locations. So that was a very prominent place in terms of design for locations. And then I've seen other games like Hearthstone, for example, where locations are these semi-permanent fixtures on the board that don't function a whole lot different from characters. They are in the same orientation. You can use them during the same amount of times, basically, for some kind of incremental benefit. It didn't really change the game too much.
Yeah.
So I think that the Lorcana locations have this middle ground where it's not all of a sudden all about locations, and they're also not just like an item or a character. They have some things in common, but I really appreciate the different lane that locations exist in.
Definitely. I think they're going to be a fun new addition. I have no qualms. I'm excited.
And of course, there are so many iconic Disney locations. A lot of locations are just as iconic as some of our favorite characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the locations I'm talking about today, quite iconic.
Pride Rock?
Oh.
Come on.
Is that one of them?
Maybe.
Oh.
Sorry. I won't say anything about it.
I might spend the rest of tonight just looking at all the Inklands cards. I don't know if I can handle it.
Well, that's locations. Anything else you want to say before we dive into our first segment?
No, I'm excited. I mean, I like using locations in Hearthstone. I've liked using locations when we've played Lord of the Rings. I can't wait. Locations, locations, locations. All right, we're going to hop into our main course for the episode.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum. Our main course this episode is we're doing some card reviews. We've peeked into a little bit of Into the Inklands, Into the Inklands.
We don't want to sit here and go through all 204 cards of the set. And so, in lieu of that, we have hand-selected some of the finest ingredients for your Into the Inklands charcuterie board.
Yes, indeed. We've picked some cards that we're going to compare to Disney World snacks today.
It's one of our favorite things to do. If you listen to episode 1, we like arbitrarily assigning food metaphors to Lorcana cards.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing at all. And so we each picked 5 cards that we think will be impactful on the new meta. They'll make some kind of splash. It might be a good splash or a bad splash or a small splash or a big splash.
Yeah. They stuck out to us for some reason.
Absolutely. And perhaps they were particularly comparable in simile form to a Disney food.
Exactly.
Who's going first?
Ooh, rock, paper, scissors?
Okay. Rocks, paper, scissors.
Okay, this is a whole separate thing. America says rock, paper, scissors. Now I say that, it's not that Brett isn't from America. It's that he always says rocks, paper, scissors. And I love him even though he does that.
I bet that people who say Inklands also say rocks, paper, scissors.
But there's one rock.
No, when you're
there's
counting,
one piece of paper.
when you're facing each other and you're saying rocks, paper, scissors, there's 2 rocks, there's 2 papers, and there's 2 scissorses.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
At this point, I think I'm perpetuating this debate just to be a little cheeky.
Just to be cheeky, just try to win. Are you
Maybe
ready?
a little bit. Sure, ready? Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh.
I gotcha. Scissors beats papers.
Yep, you got me. All right, that means you're going first, or you won the role, so to speak.
I'll go first.
And this is a good card gaming tip for everybody out there. In Lorcana right now, if you're going to an event and you don't have a ton of experience playing in a tournament setting or any kind of competitive setting, you want to go first.
Yeah, man.
As often as possible. If you roll the dice and you win the roll of the die, then you want to go first. If you win the rocks, papers, scissors match, then you want to go first.
Can't even look at you anymore.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to pop into this. The first card that I'm going to review is a location.
Oh.
It is a location, which is a massive place. It's got plenty of room for your friends to stay. It's got plenty of room for lots of ducks to live, you could share it with the whole fam. It's McDuck Manor. McDuck Manor is a 1-9, 2-lore location. It's got a beautiful picture of McDuck Manor on it. And the massive size of this location can only make me think of one Disney World snack, and that is the kitchen sink sundae at Beaches and Cream. Massive. If you've ever been to Beaches and Cream, or if you have not, I will explain it to you now. When you go to Beaches and Cream, it's an amazing sundae shop. It's very cute. It's all set up like pink and stripey and fun. It's at Yacht and Beach Club. You go in there, and if you order the kitchen sink, which I have done before, I have been very fortunate in this life, the ice cream sundae is A, massive, and B, comes in an actual kitchen sink. They set off all the alarms in the place, and all the cast members there start talking about the kitchen sink, and they're like, somebody ordered the kitchen sink! And then they bring it out. And I'm saying all that extra jazz, all that extra is so Scrooge McDuck.
Absolutely. You know, I think you've done an excellent job here.
Thank you.
So much so that I also compared a card to the kitchen sink, which
What?
we'll get to next.
No way.
Can you? It's true, and you know we've come to think alike very frequently.
Yes.
Now, can you tell people who might not know? Can you explain for anybody who has never seen in person a kitchen sink?
Mm-hmm.
They physically bring you a kitchen sink to eat a massive amount of ice cream out of, yeah?
Yeah, so it's not like an industrial kitchen sink. It's a bowl that's made out of metal and has like the knobs and the nodules all over it that a sink has.
So it's capacious.
Yeah.
It's a little bit extra.
Yes, I mean, it's definitely a bowl. They don't like rip a sink out of the counter and like bring it out to you.
I think that reminds me of McDuck Manor for sure.
Yeah.
That definitely reminds me of McDuck Manor.
Mm-hmm. Extra.
Huge, extra, ostentatious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, a big thing.
9 willpower on that witch and sink.
1-9. Yeah.
You need 9 strength to take down a kitchen sink.
Yeah, and it doesn't have anything else about it because it doesn't need anything else about it, much like a kitchen sink. When you order a kitchen sink, they're not like, do you want anything else on that? It comes with plenty of stuff.
Right.
McDuck Manor has plenty of stuff.
For plenty of willpower.
Yeah.
It just gets you some lore.
Yeah.
What else do you want?
It's just great.
I love that.
I feel strongly about it.
Now, anything else about McDuck Manor before I...
No, I'm satisfied. I want to see what you picked.
Right. Okay. I was thinking about a card that is also huge.
Oh my God.
It has lots of components.
Okay.
Right? It feels like they maybe took a whole lot of discarded ice cream and threw it all together to make something bigger and better than the sum of its parts.
Uh-huh.
And for that reason, I think that the Chernabog,
Yeah.
the Chernabog is the kitchen sink of Into the Inklands. You gotta...
Nice.
Absolutely. So the Chernabog is a 10 cost, 9/9
Ooh.
that quests for 3.
Whoa.
However, he has the ability that he costs 1 less for each character in your discard pile.
What?
And after you play him, you have to shuffle all of the characters in your discard pile back into your deck. That he's big, got a lot of stuff, 9 and 9 and 3.
Yeah.
He's got 2 abilities that kind of mesh together and in an interesting way. There's nothing else
Yeah.
quite like it. He's a kitchen sink of characters
Woo.
to me.
He's got like flames coming out of his fingers too.
Absolutely. I mean, the art's gorgeous. If you get a chance to look at it, definitely, take a peek at that in advance. This is one that, it would be fun to open without it being spoiled for you, but
Yeah, but it's cool
you
though.
want to see it, just check it out as soon
I'm
as
happy.
you possibly can. There is also, spoiler alert, an enchanted version of this card
What?
that looks pretty good. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the potential of this card. I really like how it encourages synergies with all of the discarding that Steel can do. You can fill up your discard really quickly with characters like the 1 cost Simba, the 2 cost Cinderella, Knight in Training, where you can just start filtering cards in your hand and also be feeding characters into your discard pile.
Yeah.
And the tempo gain that this card can offer is potentially game winning. Now, if your opponent doesn't have that piece of hard removal and you can get this out as early as turn 5, on turn 5, a 9/9 that quests for 3 can win you the game.
Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
It's also really good outside of that kind of best case scenario. There's the potential for post be prepared or post a double big tank, post tank and grab your sword. If your board's wiped, being able to play for free a large character like that can really, really help you stay in the game. And it's something that I think Amber really, really likes.
Yeah, and I also like that he has like that failsafe built in so that if your opponent plunks out a Chernobog, they have to get rid of their discard.
Right,
You know?
they can't do a Chernobog 2 turns in a row. I mean, outside of some weird edge cases where you're like whole new worlding, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna see Chernobog turn after turn after turn.
Yeah, he's a just omnipotent force, you know?
Yeah, he's very, very cool. I'm really excited by him. Is one of those cards that, is he going to dominate the meta? I don't think so. Is he going to see some play? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that sweet spot of really cool, really fun to play, absolutely playable, but doesn't warp the meta.
Right.
Really exciting.
Yeah, really fun. Really cool.
That's my kitchen sink. So there you have 2 kitchen sinks.
That's so great. I love that.
It makes sense, right? We both picked the same super esoteric snack from Disney World.
Yeah, we did.
Of course. All right. Do you have
Of course.
another card you want to talk about?
Oh, do I ever? Have you heard of Mickey Mouse, Brett?
Mickey Mouse. Yeah, I think. Yeah, sure.
Have you
The
heard of his-
little tiny fellow with red shorts.
Yes. Have you ever heard of his life partner?
Minneapolis Mouse. Yeah.
That's her.
Yep.
No relation to Marceline, Missouri.
Right.
The card I'd like to point out is Minnie Mouse, musical artist. Now, this card is glamorous. It's slightly caramel colored, you could say, right? It reminds me of a snack from Germany in Epcot at the Caramel Kuche.
Kuche.
It's the Caramel Kuche popcorn.
Minnie Mouse is the caramel Kuche popcorn.
The Kuche popcorn.
Minnie Mouse is
the
the caramel Kuche.
Popcorn.
Hello, sir. I see you have a Minnie Mouse.
Yeah,
She reminds me of my favorite popcorn in the Epcot.
from there.
From the caramel Kuche
Oh, yeah, I know the Kuche.
house.
Haas.
The Kuche house.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this Minnie Mouse.
Okay, so here's the thing. I love her. She's the cutest. She's glamorous, much like the glamour of walking around Epcot, popping delicate little pieces of popcorn in your mouth. Come on.
That's
Come
a
on.
high life right there.
Yeah, of course it is. The popcorn's golden, just like her. She's got this cute little dress on. She's a 1/3. She costs 2, but she sings for 3. Because I believe in the world of this card and in the real world, she's a great singer. So of course she can sing for 3. It says her ability is entourage. What?
Of course Minnie has an entourage.
And where do you go with an entourage? Epcot.
All those Minnie ears everywhere.
Yeah, come on. Whenever you play a character with bodyguard, you may remove up to 2 damage from chosen character. I mean, come on.
That's a lot of things that Amber really likes.
Mm-hmm.
Amber likes to sing.
Yeah.
Amber likes bodyguards.
Yeah, and Minnie's singing surrounded by bodyguards, and that's just awesome.
Iconic.
It's iconic, much like caramel Kuche popcorn.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I feel good about it. I've had caramel Kuche popcorn.
I have too. It's the best caramel popcorn that you can have.
Oh, it's
really
like warm and fresh. Oh, it's so good.
And there's real German people making real German caramel popcorn.
Yeah, it's
at Epcot.
awesome.
It's amazing.
Epcot's the best.
Love Epcot. All right.
What's your next pick here?
My next pick is something a little bit formless. It's hard to know what it's made of. It's famous for sure, and there's a lot of buzz about it. Nobody knows quite what it is. And if you were to just look at it on a plate or anywhere in the world, in fact, I don't know that you'd want to eat it unless somebody told you this tastes good and it is this thing and you can eat it. I don't think you'd eat it. Just like Morph.
Just like Morph.
If Morph was on a plate and nobody told you to eat him, you wouldn't eat him either.
Yeah, Morph from Treasure Planet.
Now, this is a card that everybody's been really excited about, a card with a lot of potential. It is a Emerald card. It is a 2-cost, 2/1 that quests for 1. He has the ability Mimicry, which says, you may play any character with shift on this character as if this character had any name.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. And thematic, absolutely. Really excited for the gameplay potential of this card. The gray stuff, for those who don't know, the gray stuff is a reference to Beauty and the Beast. B.R. Lumiere says, try the gray stuff.
It's delicious.
And if you go to the Be Our Guest restaurant in the Magic Kingdom at Disney World, for dessert, you can be served a plate of the gray stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. And it looks like kind of like a slug.
It does a little bit.
But it tastes good.
Yeah, I think it's a cookies and cream mousse. I think that's the bit that makes it gray, but I'm not sure.
That sounds so prosaic, but it really is excellent.
Yeah.
It's nothing I've ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit of Disney Imagineering magic in the form of food.
Yeah, and ties in so well to the story, much like Morph's card.
Much like Morph's card. So Morph opens up a lot of possibilities. It's nice to see a playable, inkable rare in Emerald for sure.
Yeah.
Just a nice inkable 2-drop. Love to see it. And I think he's going to open up all kinds of possibilities for shift characters that maybe didn't have shift targets in the previous sets. Something that comes to mind immediately in Emerald is Belle Hidden Archer, where by turn 5, she didn't have that much impact, and it was a lot easier to deal with the 3/3, and also your opponent's hand wasn't as big. If you lose a foothold on the board, then, you can kind of ignore her. But if you play her on turn 3, that's much, much different. Much, much different. All of a sudden, you have a 3/3 that's ready to go, questing for 3 on turn 3. And your opponent isn't going to be as easily be able to deal with that. So that's a cool potential combo.
Yeah, I love Morph. Also, he's named Morph Space Goo, and he looks so cute. Look at that face.
Knocking the art out of the park. I mean, aesthetically, again, just really, really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I don't want to ever take for granted with this game, is just how aesthetically pleasing it is.
It's the best.
It's sometimes when you're thinking about how to concoct a deck and how to play and how to win, et cetera, it's easy to kind of get in this pattern where you recognize a card instantly by the rough geometric shapes on it, and you stop looking at the art. But man, is the art in this game absolutely phenomenal. And it really beats the pants out of a lot of other games.
It really does.
But back to Morph. Some of the other targets that are really great for Morph, there's no good target up until now for Beast Tragic Hero, for Sad Beast. And so that's a potential. I mean, dropping that beast on turn 3, again, amazing possibilities. You start drawing cards early. You have a big body really early. And if, they ping him, then great. He has more attack than any other character on the board. He's going to be able to take out locations, take out anything your opponent plays. So there's the ramping potential, the tempo potential that Morph provides. It's really, really great.
It's so cool.
It's really, really cool. Some of the other targets, I'm thinking like Lady Tremaine hasn't had a good shift target, and early in the game when boards aren't going to be as wide, dropping a Tremaine really early can be just a huge tempo win.
Oh yeah.
So
dropping an Aladdin.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be dank.
Some of these characters that are good to play already without a shift target are going to become really, really strong.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a few other shift targets for Morph and include Morph in your deck.
Yeah.
So Morph, the gray stuff. The unknown quantity, the
Great
formless goo ball of Into the Inklands.
Yeah, really good.
All right, do you have another card for us?
I sure do. Clear the way, folks. My next card, I'm comparing to a popcorn on Main Street. Now hold the phone. I'm not talking about plain popcorn. I'm talking about the specialty popcorn that you can get at the Main Street Bakery.
Okay, like made to order popcorn, right?
Yes. For those who don't know, at the Main Street Bakery, if you go in the back there, kind of close to where they write your name on your Mickey ears, they have a section of the bakery dedicated to popcorn. You get it in this little bucket. They scoop it out of like a popcorn warmer. Then they can put whatever toppings you want on it. Sometimes they have like specialty ones. If you tell them a secret word, they'll make you like this fancy popcorn. When I went down there last year for my sister's bachelorette, they gave us this haunted mansion popcorn. It was crazy.
Was it creepy?
Creepy. It was like purple and green, like haunted mansion. It was the best. We had to say doom buggy to them. Then they gave us the popcorn.
You had to give a secret password to get popcorn?
Yeah.
What is this character? What is this card you're picking?
It's the best place. The card's great too. So anyways, this popcorn is loaded with a bunch of stuff. You got to share it with people. It's massive. It just has a big presence. You know, you carry it around and it's loaded. You got to have time to sit and eat this thing. The card I'm talking about is massive. Packs a wide load. This card is Magic Broom, the Big Sweeper.
Oh, what is the Magic Broom Big Sweeper?
Now, I'm a big fan of the broom cards in Lorcana anyways. I like the brooms. We have Mickey, who handles all the brooms. I can't wait to make a broom deck someday.
There may or may not be a location for brooms.
Oh my god. What?
That you haven't seen.
I can't wait. But Magic Broom the Big Sweeper is a 3-cost 1/5. And he has the ability, or she has the ability, pardon me, Clean Sweep. While this character is at a location, it gets +2 attack. So, makes it into a 3/5 pretty easily if you put it at a location.
Okay.
It's got a big butt. It's got a big 5 butt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge sweeper on this picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a great card.
So it's the largest broom that we've seen.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to flesh out the broom decks, give you some redundancy. It's going to tie into locations if there may or may not be an amazing location that's purpose built for a broom deck.
Ooh, that gets me even more excited for this.
And I think that card is made to go to that location, in fact.
That would make sense.
So it's nice to see some redundancy for the broom decks. It's fun to see these archetypal decks get some more support, right? And I think it says something about the game too, right? Mm-hmm. Where sometimes in card games you have this phenomenon where a package of cards is designed for one set and then is kind of abandoned for every set thereafter. And then if those initial cards aren't up to par, aren't finding their way into decks, or aren't cohesive enough to be a deck on their own, then they become almost useless for the entirety of their lifetime in the game.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that those type of decks aren't being abandoned, right? That there is further support for them, and that there are new twists offered on them in this new set.
Yeah, it's awesome to know that we're not going to totally lose those old cards that we love. Magic Broom, the Big Sweeper, just like Main Street Bakery popcorn.
So what makes him popcorny in particular?
Well, I think it's that he's got kind of like a mysterious quality about himself, right? He's big, but he's kind of looming. The brooms themselves are a little bit like ethereal, a little bit spooky. And the cool thing about the popcorn is that it has such like a give me the password kind of like deal to it, where you're like, ooh, you could just get normal popcorn like any normal plebe, or you could know the password, you know?
Sure.
The Big Sweeper, you got to know the password. You got to get in there.
All the other brooms are just regular old popcorn at your local cinema, but this guy's popcorn on Main Street, USA at Walt Disney World. Okay.
And he's secret popcorn.
Secret popcorn. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's him. What's your next card, Brett?
Well, as you know, I'm a fan of milkshakes.
Ugh, tell me about it.
And I'm a fan of cupcakes.
Oh, yeah.
But perhaps inexplicably, something I'm not a fan of at all, something that I loathe.
Yes, I know where this is going.
Is the idea to put cupcakes in and or on milkshakes.
Mm-hmm.
This to me is too much.
Yeah.
Too much of a good thing. And it's unnecessary, and it might look pretty and flashy, and it might be a cool thing to put on your Instagram or whatever, but when you actually get down to the nuts and bolts of whether it's something you want,
right,
you realize that it's an abomination.
Yeah.
It's an assault on your senses.
Okay.
So when I think of We've been very complimentary of Disney snacks here, so this is a little bit of a departure, but I have to
That's
say, this is
okay.
a Disney snack that I do not approve of.
We're always going to be honest with you here in this podcast.
And honestly, if you like these things, like, great, I'm not here to yuck your yum, but just for me personally, there's no accounting for taste. I hate these things. I hate them. They disgust me.
You really do.
Just like Milo Thatch, the so-called king of Atlantis.
Oof.
This card is not for me, folks. It is not for me. Milo Thatch is a 7-cost uninkable in Emerald. Womp, womp, womp. He is a 4/4. He quests for 3. Okay. He shifts for 4 onto one of the other poor Milos. And has the ability to take them by surprise. When this character is banished, return all opposing characters to their player's hands. That's flashy. Return all of their characters to their player's hands when he's banished. Okay, yeah, maybe it could potentially be, in the perfect scenario, a tempo swing. But when you break it down, when you actually think about this card impacting the board, I don't see this being useful at all. It doesn't taste good to me. All right.
That's crazy because he's already banished.
Right. So
when he does his thing.
The best case scenario here is you're at parity, right? The boards are kind of even and you play Milo. Your opponent has an entire turn to know that this effect could go off, potentially makes favorable trades, races up in lore, whatever they need to do, doesn't play cards, holds things back, whatever. Prepares for this to go off, and you're left down a 7-cost uninkable, and they replay a few cards against you the next turn after you lose your 7-cost uninkable. If you think about it in terms of what if you're behind in the game, if this is really one-sided and you're throwing 6 or 7 characters back to your opponent's hand, you're losing the game anyway. You're losing the game so hard if he is having a major impact like that. I just don't see Milo being a high-impact legendary, let alone the fact that he's another huge, expensive, uninkable card in Emerald that really can't afford. There are so many uninkable cards that you want to play in Emerald, and you're going to squeeze him in there, and along with his little shift counterparts that aren't good either. Like, you're putting in 2/2s to play that. I'd rather play many, many other cards before I play Milo.
Yeah, he's a big time bummer. He's also, I gotta say, not one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I also am not really a fan of a cupcake milkshake. Like, give me one or the other. I like both. I would eat a cupcake milkshake if it was given to me, but I don't know. Like you said, it doesn't taste good. Milo Thatch alone doesn't really taste good.
Flashy,
but
not something you want to snack on.
Yeah, you see it and you're like, oh, a legendary.
Ugh. We're gonna pull 2 Milos.
We are now.
It's gonna happen.
He heard us.
We're helping contribute to the tanking of his value, and then we're gonna pull a bunch of Milos.
Yeah.
And I'm coming on strong, but I'd be happy to pull Milo.
Yeah, of course.
I still want to try him out.
Of course, it's awesome.
Just like I probably will have a cupcake milkshake someday.
Of course,
and be
you
a
will.
huge hypocrite. I probably will put Milo in a deck just to try to see if we can make him work. And the cool thing about putting your opinions, your hard opinions out into the world is you get to laugh at yourself when you're very, very wrong. But my impression is that Milo stinks.
I think you'll be very, very right.
What about you, Katie? Do you have a 4th card that you would like to preview?
Boy, oh boy, do I ever. Mine is also a snack that is beautiful to look at, but difficult to eat. Now, I don't necessarily hate this card that I picked out, but I think that I like the look of it more than I like really anything about the mechanics of the card. Much like a caramel apple on Main Street USA. I'm kind of stuck on Main Street USA today.
It's a good place to be. A lot of good snacks on Main Street.
Yeah, it's my favorite. The caramel apples, when you see them, are beautiful looking, and they'll be like dipped in chocolate and caramel, and they've got like little buttons on them to be like Mickey pants or a little mini skirt, and they've got the little ears on them, and you look at them and you're like, ooh, a candy apple? Like, yeah. Caramel apple with milk chocolate? Yeah. And then you go to eat it and you're like, how do I eat this? and then you gotta like try to cut it with a plastic knife. Then you're kind of just like biting into it, and you
then
can't like get there.
Every single one of your teeth fall out, which is what was told to me as a child.
That all your teeth would fall out?
Yeah, I've never had a caramel apple in my life because I remain convinced to this day that if you do eat a caramel apple, all of your teeth will get stuck in the apple.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't think it's far off from the truth. I think that could happen.
It could happen. See, I remain fearful of what a caramel apple would do. So who is the caramel apple of the Inklands?
The caramel apple of the Inklands is none other than Friar Tuck, priest of Nottingham.
Of course he is. He looks like a caramel
I was just
apple.
going to say that. He's kind of shaped like an apple. As soon as I just brought this card up, and we both were taken aback by how much this man looks like an apple in this picture. But what was most attractive to me about this picture is just like the anger, like the raw fury in Friar Tuck's face because like I was saying, I'm trying not to look at like all the Inklands cards, so I was skimming through them, and this one stuck out to me so hard because he's so into it. Like he's giving 150.
He's very animated.
Yes. And his ability is "you thieving scoundrel." Like, come on. The flavor text under him is "get out of my church." Like, yes. Let's go, Friar Tuck. He's a 4-cost 2/4. He quests for 2. His flavor text, his ability is "you thieving scoundrel." When you play this character, the player or players with the most cards in their hand chooses and discards a card. And I like that. I've liked many caramel apples that I've had in my life. There's nothing bad about it. It's just like probably not going to change my life. It's probably not going to like change the game necessarily, but it's cool. It's beautiful. It's thematic. I'm excited about it.
It's a nice idea, right?
Yeah.
It's a nice idea at 4 cost with decent stats. Like 4 cost 2/4 that quests for 2. You'd expect to pay 3 for 2/4 that quests for 2, like Piglet, right? So you're basically paying 1 to discard a card. And the cost on that normally is 2. So theoretically, right, if you pull it off, it's a deal. But that's a little bit of a apple in the sky kind of scenario, right? You don't always get to do that. And in fact, you can make yourself discard. You can lose your own teeth if you try to snack on Friar Tuck. Don't snack on Friar Tuck.
Don't eat Friar Tuck.
Don't take a bite of that belly.
Or you'll lose your teeth.
You might lose your teeth.
That belly, the poor guy.
Yeah.
He's just a friar.
He's just a friar. He could be good.
Yeah, I love him. I'm excited for it. I mean, if we get him, I'll be like, yeah, heck yeah.
4-cost inkable discard in green. That slot is pretty crowded, right? Because
it's a common thing.
Is he better than Daisy? You know, it kind of similar. They both quest for 2. They're, both. She's a 2/3. He's a 2/4. Okay, she is always going to be beneficial if she gets to quest. There's no potential downside of Daisy. It's just that she can get 1-for-1 pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And then you have Donald, who's another 4-cost inkable. And also, if you're on the Bucky into Prince John train, you might be playing Jafar Floodborn. You want to play a Floodborn on 4. So I'm not sure what kind of home Friar Tuck is going to have.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
What about you? What's your next card?
My next card is not so flashy. Something that you can get just about anywhere.
Oh.
But when you get it in a Disney park, it is because you need it.
Oh.
It provides sustenance and energy and nutrition in a clean, healthy way.
What is this?
My plain old banana of the Inklands.
Oh my God.
The bare necessities.
I was just going to say, what is it? A banana?
It is.
But
the bare necessities.
You can buy bananas in Disney World.
You can. And let me tell you, I've had to have a banana a couple times in Disney World, and every single time it was exactly what I needed at that moment.
Yeah.
That potassium, that little bit of energy, that nice clean there's a little bit of protein in bananas, right? Gives you everything you need. It costs even in Disney World, a banana still only costs 75 cents.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
That's double price.
I mean, you can't get a cup of water in Disney World for 75 cents, but you can get a banana.
You can get one for free in Disney World.
Right. I'm sorry. I don't want to disparage I don't want to perpetuate the myth that you have to buy 1 million water bottles in
You
Disney
don't.
World. Right.
Yes. No, that's true. You are right. I mean, you can't get a bottle of water
Right.
for that cheap.
Bare Necessities. The Bare Necessities is a 2-cost amber action. It is also a song. Its text is, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character card of your choice. Oh my goodness, is
Wow.
this card wonderful for Amber.
That's awesome.
It patches some nice holes. It's a song. It's what Amber wants to be doing anyway. It's inkable if you don't need it. It's going to give you that hand knowledge, which is a nice bonus. I think it's generally overrated in card games, but it's a nice little cherry on top.
A banana on top.
It's a banana on top of the banana that you get to see your opponent's hand. But being able to get rid of a potentially very impactful song, get rid of a Be Prepared, obviously, get rid of a Whole New World if you don't want that to hit you. It can also get rid of locations. Folks, everybody's going to be playing so many locations.
Yeah.
And you know what's easier than sinking 9 attack into a location? Discarding it with the Bare Necessities.
Also, it's beautiful that it's a banana, and there's so many bananas in Jungle Book.
And there are so many bananas in this card art.
Yeah.
I felt like this card needed to be part of our discussion, not just because of its potential impact to our favorite card game right now, but because of its relation to food.
Yeah, it's a food-looking card, and it's amber, the same color as a banana.
And he's singing about food.
Yeah.
And, you know, I walk around here sometimes singing the Big Paw Paw lyric from that song, and I still don't know what a Big Paw Paw
Who does?
is, but I love that he says something is a Big Paw Paw.
I never think about that song being about food, but it really is.
Yeah.
That is the bare necessities of life.
So I'm really, really pumped about this card.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a rare that I want to try to lock down a playset of really early to go into a, maybe a Steel Song update. So that's a quick one for me. What else you got? You got your final card here?
I've got my final card here, yeah. My final card, I picked a snack that is great, but not a lot of people know about it. I would say it's a little bit underrated. One of my favorite things to do for breakfast in Disney World, or really, I guess any meal, is to go to Sleepy Hollow, which is right by the entrance to Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom. It's a tiny little snack shack, and they have freshly made Belgian waffles that you can get with any filling you want that they have. I like getting the fresh hot Belgian waffle filled with Nutella and fresh fruit for breakfast.
That sounds delicious.
It's fantastic. It's cheap. It's a great meal. It fills you up for the whole day. You feel like you got a lot of good quality, a lot of bang for your buck. And like I said, it's underrated, which is not dissimilar to Ursula, Deceiver of All. So Ursula is a legendary. She's a 3-cost 2/3, and she has the ability, What a Deal. Whenever this character sings a song, you may play that song again from your discard for free, then put it on the bottom of your deck. Now, I'm not saying that people think this card is bad. People think that this card is great overall on the internet. But when this card was revealed in the article that I read about it, it was also in an article with Jafar's legendary card. Everybody was like, oh, but look at Jafar.
OTK, Jafar, buy your Whole New Worlds.
Right. And that's what happens in Disney World when you've got something like the Mickey waffle, which is also great, that everybody eats in their resort and then they go to the park, when they could just wait and get this, which is even cheaper and arguably just as good, if not better. That's how I feel about Ursula. She only costs 3. She's a legendary that costs 3. Excuse me? And she's inkable?
Yeah, and in Emerald, again, another inkable in Emerald. Really solid, never bad.
No, she's awesome.
I think that's a great take, especially in reference to Jafar, which I think is the card, the boogeyman of the set.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's an interesting take, and I think I might agree with you that Ursula is going to have a bigger impact and be more played than that Jafar.
Yeah, I feel like people just aren't seeing it because they're like, oh, she just does that.
There are more use cases. You can envision more scenarios where you get to use Ursula than Jafar to win the game.
Yeah,
right?
And this is not to poo-poo Jafar. I think that's also a good card, but it's just, give Ursula her due.
Absolutely. I think something that a new player tends to underrate is card draw.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see a big flashy effect like Jafar's, that you can see how it instantly drives you towards your win condition, that looks like a card you want.
Yeah.
But perhaps more game winning as a play is using Ursula to sing Friends on the Other Side.
Yeah.
It's
Twice.
amazing what 2 cards can do for you, 2 extra cards over the course of a game can do in terms of smoothing out your curve, in terms of giving you the extra ink you need, in terms of letting you recover from a board wipe late in the late game. So I agree that Ursula is maybe that sneaky, amazing dish at the back of the park.
Right, exactly. That nobody knows about. Stuck in a little Sleepy Hollow. That's Ursula.
Excellent.
Okay, now what about you? What is your last little card review before we open our big Inklands box? What's your last take?
My last treat from the Inklands.
Yes.
Well, last episode I talked about the Dole Whip.
Oh, yes.
And I realized, maybe not everybody knows what a Dole Whip is. A Dole Whip is a delightful twist of frozen pineapple juice, basically, a pineapple juice blend with vanilla soft serve ice cream, all twisted together. It's fresh Dole pineapple juice, frozen and mixed with vanilla soft serve. And my goodness, when it is a hot day in Disney World, there is nothing that you would rather have. It is refreshing. It's not heavy. It's light.
Perfect.
It's perfect. It gives you a little boost of sugar. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to plus that up a little bit, right? Which I think is the underrated best way to have a Dole Whip.
Yep,
you
I see where you're
can get
going.
a Dole Whip float.
Ooh, yeah.
You can have that ice cream sat in a cup of ice cold pineapple juice.
So good.
And my goodness, is that refreshing. It's when you think of a Dole Whip, it's maybe not the first thing you think of, but it ends up being probably my number one favorite Disney World treat,
Yeah.
So this is a card that is very good. And I think we know it's going to be very good at this point. But I think it's similarly being overshadowed by cards like Jafar, right?
Yep.
And by OTK Beast combos, right?
Yep.
And that is another legendary that was one of the first ones spoiled, and now we've kind of forgotten about it. It mixes up a couple of abilities, but he makes your whole day sing when you play him. And that is Jim Hawkins,
Ooh.
Space Traveler.
Nice.
Jim Hawkins Space Traveler is a 5-cost inkable in Ruby. He is a 4/4, quests for 2. Not bad stats.
No.
He's maybe, 1 strength and 1 willpower off of a vanilla character.
Yep.
He has the ability. This is it. When you play this character, you may play a location with cost 4 or less for free. He also has Take the Helm. Whenever you play a location, this character may move there for free. And folks, this card is very, very good.
Yeah, that sounds incredible.
For a long time, we were kind of hedging our bets a little bit, I think, as a community, and saying, well, we don't know how good some of these cards are going to be. We don't know how good Jim is going to be until we see all of the locations and know how they work and how they impact the board.
Sure.
Well, I think right now, it's safe to say that locations are going to be making some kind of impact.
Yeah.
They are going to be played, and that some of the locations are very strong.
Yeah.
To point one out in particular, the Legacy Jim Hawkins ship, the Solar Galleon, right? On the turn you play, if you play it on the turn that you play Jim Hawkins, you get the full 4 cost negated for this location. So you're getting 9 ink worth of cards
Wow.
onto the board. You can instantly move Jim Hawkins there. He instantly then gains evasive. And while he's there, he makes it 2 cheaper to move characters there, right? So all of these synergies that instantly take place right when you play him, you get a bomb location that protects your characters, that completely swings the board. If you can pull this off, if you can build a deck that plays towards playing Jim on turn 5 with that location in your hand, you're going to have a good time. That's a huge tempo swing. And it propels you. It jettisons you towards the late game, giving you the opportunity to have a whole bunch of evasive characters that can suddenly start questing with impunity.
Yeah, I think that Jim Hawkins, much like his movie, is underrated.
Sure.
You know, when that movie came out, people were like, wow, this is cool. And then they forgot about it really quickly, much like you were saying with the Jim Hawkins card.
Absolutely.
I think you're so right. I think that as soon as it enters gameplay and as soon as people get really into locations, which we know they will, they'll realize Jim Hawkins is dank.
Absolutely. Dole Whip float. Jim Hawkins is the lovely twist of ice cream, and he is just sitting in a pool of pineapple locations. Delicious. I hope we pull him and not Milo.
I was just going to say, Milo Thatch, eat your heart out. We got Jim Hawkins. Good call. Really good cards.
Yeah, really good stuff.
That was awesome.
A good segment. A wonderful main course.
Yeah. I can't wait to really get all these Inklands cards.
Me too. I can't wait to get our hands on them. On to the next segment.
Okay, here we go.
All right, we are back for our drinks course.
Ooh.
Little post-dinner cocktail.
Yeah.
Little
refreshment.
refreshment.
Maybe it's a coffee after dinner. Maybe it's a little drink.
A little Irish coffee.
Yeah,
Get us going here.
of course.
We have our second installment of Bet You Didn't Know About Diz with Katie.
Yeah, here's our bet you didn't know about Diz for today.
So I'm supposed to ask you about Marceline, Missouri, which still sounds like a character from an Annie Proulx novel. But anyway.
It's not a person, believe it or not. Marceline, Missouri is a town in Missouri, which Walt Disney lived in when he was growing up. He grew up mostly in Kansas City, but he did live in Marceline for a time, and that is what Main Street, USA is modeled after.
Okay.
The Main Street of Marceline.
Gotcha.
So now when I worked out in Disneyland, I had a crazy ear infection, my eardrum burst, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't fly home to New Hampshire. So my mom flew out, we drove across the country together, and one of the stops we made was in Marceline, Missouri. Because if you go to Marceline, Missouri, you can walk down the original Main Street, USA. That whole strip still exists.
Now, are there similarities? Did you note similarities between what you saw in Marceline, Missouri and Main Street in Disneyland?
Yes, I already knew about these similarities. so
you sought this out. It wasn't like you happened to drive through Marceline.
No.
So was it like a 1 hour detour or a 3 hour detour?
It was a 1 hour detour.
Oh, okay, not bad.
But we were both into it.
Uh-huh.
Because of some storm, we actually couldn't go through St. Louis, so we had to go this way somehow. Marceline's a little bit in the middle of nowhere, and Missouri's pretty expansive. I don't know if we have anybody listening from Missouri, but there's a lot of space in Missouri. Very unlike California and unlike New England. You get to Marceline, and it's pretty much just a strip of Main Street, USA. And there's the Walt Disney Museum, which was unfortunately closed.
No.
But that's okay. They have a big model of a train, all this cool stuff. It was awesome to see Main Street, USA. It looks just like it does in Disney World. You know, it looks like a turn of the century Main Street. They've changed a lot about it, obviously. People use it today. It has businesses. It's functioning. But the cool thing is, in both Disney World and Disneyland, if you go all the way down to the bottom of Main Street, USA, you're like walking down it. And then on the left, there is always an establishment that sells Coca-Cola. So in Walt Disney World, that's Casey's Corner. Right? They have a big Coca-Cola sign. Same kind of a thing in Disneyland. Disneyland doesn't have Casey's Corner. But in that corner, there's a Coca-Cola sign. In Marceline, at the end of Main Street, USA, is a really old, painted Coca-Cola sign, like on the side of a brick building. Pretty cool.
What was Walt's goal, like, beyond reproducing his hometown? Like, what about his hometown did he want to capture, do you think?
I mean, the idea of Disney World and Disneyland and like the Disney parks, I guess, is that you're stepping back in time to a period of your life when things were simpler. And I think that for him, that specific Main Street is like a symbol of the simpler times. It's like decidedly not Kansas City, where he's known to have some harder times in his life. It's that like Missouri idea of like the working class, Americana, eat it up kind of an idea. And to him, there was nothing that was more of a touchstone, more of like an Americana feeling than that Main Street USA. And when you walk down Main Street USA, that's the idea. The idea is to make you feel like warm and fuzzy, American family, home, love. They play Hello Dolly, they play Oklahoma, they play all those like The Music Man, all those Americana kind of Broadway musicals that make you feel like everything's okay and we're all working together as a team and I love you and yay and
The trolley song.
Yeah, I smell cookies. Someone's making cookies. My mom's making cookies.
That magic cookie smell again.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea of Main Street USA is that it kind of is it's like programming you to feel like an innocent child again and like everything's magical and everything's okay.
Are there any little facts about Main Street that you'd like to highlight? A little Easter eggs about the Disney World, Disneyland Main Streets?
Main Street USA, though, if we want to talk about Easter eggs, I don't think there's anywhere in any Disney park that has more Easter eggs in one concentrated area than Main Street USA. Every single window on Main Street USA is an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg hunt. It's Easter every day. A lot of them are nods to animators. They're nods to people who built the parks and Imagineers. They're nods to Walt's family. They're nods to businesses that Walt made up when he was buying land in Florida and California. And the windows in Main Street USA depend on the park, too. Like, I know if you go overseas to those parks, they have the Imagineers that were involved in those.
Oh,
and like,
really cool.
Yeah, they're individualized. I've done many tours where they explain all the windows to you, but even those, they don't explain all the windows because
there's so many of them.
They don't have 10 hours.
Really
yeah.
cool. All right. Well, that's really cool info about Marceline and the history of Main Street USA.
Hey,
I think it's time for
I'm a little hungry.
yeah.
Could use a little something sweet
A
here.
little dessert.
Yeah, let's do a little dessert.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's get some dessert in here. I'm a little hungry. What'd you make up for dessert this week, Brett?
Oh, I made a little treat again.
Ooh.
Last week we had the little Wally and Eva pair.
Yeah, your dream cards.
And some more dream cards, created with the vintageccg.com card creator, which I couldn't remember the name of last episode. It is linked on our last episode description. I'll link it again when I post these cards on our Instagram at Smorcana, at SMORCANA, Smorcana.
Yes.
Give us a like and a follow and whatever, and you can see these dream cards for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Please do.
So today we have another pair. I like designing in pairs. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah.
Designing, God, I don't know. Not designing, concocting, brewing.
Designing, brewing, yeah.
Whipping up, so much chantilly cream.
Oh, yes.
Our first card, this is another duo that I would love to see added to the game. I expect them to be added to the game. I'm honestly surprised that they haven't been added to the game. It's just a question of what form they might take.
Yeah.
The first card, a 2-cost inkable card in Emerald, is Chip, Snack Thief.
Oh, I love him.
Chip, Snack Thief. There he is munching on some popcorn that he stole from Donald Duck.
So cute.
He is a 2-cost 0/1 that quests for 1. He is evasive.
Mm-hmm.
He has the ability Hijinks. After this character quests, choose a card in an opponent's inkwell. That card does not ready at the start of their next turn.
Yeah. Amazing.
He steals a little snack. He says, you can't have that. It's it doesn't last forever because he's just a little chipmunk.
Yeah.
Well, he's a little nuisance, up to no good, causing some mischief.
Yeah.
He's evasive. He's really small, right? He's not good on attack. He can quest for that little one and throw a little wrench in your opponent's plans.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Chip
he's
the snack thief. And he goes, you might have guessed it,
I wonder who.
with his partner in crime, Dale. He is a 1-cost Emerald inkable card. Dale, partner in crime, is a 0/1. He is also evasive.
So cute.
He has no lore. He cannot quest for any lore. However, he has the ability, Better Together. You can exert him, and chosen character gains +1 lore this turn. He's fun working with his buddy Chip. You can give him, he's good with any other evasive character, right? Something that is going to stick around on the board maybe. give him some lore, let them quest for a little bit more. He also has some really fun combo potential, which is where he might be especially good and maybe a little bit dangerous, right? You combo him with something like Beast Relentless, where, okay, you give Beast Relentless an extra lore, and then all of a sudden, every single time the Beast quests, he's questing for 3 instead of 2. Ooh, that could get really, really fun, really, really good.
Yeah.
But, he has his drawbacks, right, where he's not good in challenges. You can clear him pretty easily if you have an evasive character of your own. But I think fun, and at a cost of 1 is very reasonable.
Yeah,
an
inkable
1, sure. Chip and Dale, a cute little duo. This is their non-Rescue Ranger form.
I was just going to say that to you. Now, why did you decide to go with their non-Rescue Ranger form?
Last time we did these Dreamborn Wally and Evas, where they're their best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And here I really wanted to capture the classic Chip and Dale feel, right? Where they're just these tiny little nuisances who run around and cause a whole bunch of trouble. They pop all the popcorn, it goes everywhere, they steal it all away. I think that's a really fun way to think of Chip and Dale. I expect at this point, really, that we'll get the Rescue Ranger versions, which I love Chip and Dale.
Yeah.
My first comic book, weirdly, was a Rescue Rangers comic book. I'll never forget that. My dad brought it home one day from work. It had like a white cover on it. He knew I loved the Rescue Rangers. It was the first, number 1, Chip and Dale number 1. I should try to find a picture of it. I'm sure it exists somewhere.
Yeah.
I
don't. On Instagram.
I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. But I love Chip and Dale. They were the characters where, I remember going to Disney World as a kid, and I was probably 5, and it was the first time in my memory anyway that I was at Disney World, and it was the kind of thing where like, okay, if you're good and like don't ask for anything all trip and you're a good kid the whole time, then at the end you can get a souvenir. And I remember on the first day I saw a Chip and a Dale plushie, these 2 plushies, and I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to pick between Chip and Dale?
The stuff.
And I was dead, so I was like, all right. And they were the Rescue Rangers versions. You got, Dale in the Hawaiian shirt and Chip in the Indiana Jones kind of get up. And I was like, well, I'm going with Chip. Like, Chip is more me. I'm going to pick Chip. And I remember at the end, they were like, my parents were like, you were so good that you can get Chip and Dale. And I still have that Chip and Dale. I love Chip and Dale. So there's my inclination to make these cards came from that appreciation for those characters.
Do you remember when we met Chip and Dale in Disney World on our first trip together?
I do. We had just come out of the Sci-Fi Diner
at Hollywood Studios.
Yep, and we had eaten way too much food.
Yeah, so this was in 2019, 2018, 2019.
The beginning of 2019.
Yeah, and we had the deluxe dining plan, which doesn't even exist anymore. Even now the dining plans have come back. And the deluxe dining plan gave you an appetizer. Okay, sorry. An appetizer each, a main course each, a specialty drink each, and a dessert each. It was so much food, and we loved it. And this meal was our last meal?
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yep.
Our last sit-down meal, and we ate so much, and we got these like adult milkshakes, and we were so full, and it was so hot. And we went out to meet Chip and Dale, and we thought we were going to die. They were like right outside of the restaurant just meeting people. And we were like, oh, we have to wait for them. But standing in that hot line was like,
there's some pictures from the lovely photo pass people who take your picture with the characters. And we're both looking kind of pasty and pale. And like we perhaps don't want to be there at that very moment. But we couldn't let the fun train stop now, could we?
No, definitely not.
Those are our dream cards for the week. Our Chip and Dale. Check us out on Instagram.
Insta. Well, there we go. That's episode 2.
We made it through a second episode.
Oh my God.
We've doubled the number of episodes we've recorded.
Does this mean that we're number one in the world? Like we're double number 1?
We're number 1 in the world now, yeah.
But not 11.
No, 1.
Yeah.
We're number 1 in the world. Yeah, like Roman numerals or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are opening up Inklands, a box.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully a trove. Hopefully we score a trove. Hopefully we don't have to keep our cards in the Stonewall Kitchen jam gift box for too much longer.
Yeah.
Since we got into this game on Christmas Day, we have been storing all of our cards inside a Stonewall Kitchen Jam gift box.
Which we love, and
It's
it's
great.
worked pretty well.
It's sturdy. It's appropriately sized to hold some cards and
Mhm.
things. It is anti-thematic, I would say.
Yes, it couldn't be less related.
You have to be. It's like a hipster Lorcana card box, I'd say. You
Yeah.
know, it's like we're trying to be cool and being like, we don't need no Lorcana gift box. We're just gonna put in this whatever Stonewall Kitchen gift box.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to be cool.
Yeah. Like
We don't need that stuff.
we don't
but
need a trove.
we would absolutely devour a trove or a box that even just has Mickey on it. Anything. And anything that's like maybe twice the size of what we have.
Sure.
Because also, in our own defense, when we dipped our toe into the game on Christmas Day, we weren't sure that we were going to love it, be obsessed with it, or love it. So,
And then we played 2 games.
yeah, we were like,
and then we
oh,
loved it. We liked this
we
quite a
love
bit.
this game.
Yes, this is wonderful.
are any stores open today?
Wait a second. This is both mechanically better than Hearthstone and has more an IP that we enjoy a lot more. Wow. Okay.
Right.
Um,
Right.
So here we are. So we're gonna hopefully land a trove. I don't have to work on Friday, so I'm gonna be at the store at least right when it opens,
Yeah.
trying to score one of the 3 that they apparently are getting. Woof.
Yeah.
And
Tough.
we'll open those up Friday. We're going to a
Yeah.
sealed event on Saturday.
Sure are.
So next episode we'll have a nice recap of what we opened, of how the tournament went.
Yep.
And we'll be talking perhaps about how we would like to see Lorcana incorporated into the Disney parks in the future.
Yeah. It's all we dream about.
That's what we look forward to. Again, S'morecana, our number one goal is to eat a s'more at Disney World while playing Lorcana.
Is that so much to ask?
It's not, and we're going to tell you how we're going to do it next episode.
Ooh.
In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and give us a like and a follow and a subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Until next time.
Thanks for listening.